Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Valve has officially declared Razer's new keyboard cheating.
Gone forever!
With Cologne wrapped up, Monday night Valve finally released an update clearly defining their stance on nullbinds, including Razer's Snap Tap feature. If you've been living under a rock, Razer recently announced an update for their Huntsman V3 Pro keyboard called Snap Tap. Snap Tap is a feature that, quote, prioritizes the latest input between two selected keys without having to release the previous one. And in a game like CS2, this would give you near perfect counter-strafing since it essentially overrides any error you can make yourself when moving left to right or vice versa. You see, in CS, you are only accurate with your weapon when standing still, but for a brief moment when changing directions while moving, your accuracy resets. The trick is that you only get a small window to let go of your previous key before hitting the new one to achieve this. It's been a fundamental skill in the game for a long time, and Razer essentially wanted to put an end to that. But it doesn't really stop there. You see, Razer isn't the only keyboard manufacturer to have internal or external features that attempt to do this very same thing. And there are even ways for players themselves to do this in-game with console commands called nullbinds. It's been a discussion for years, but this Razer announcement kicked off a massive debate about products and binds that essentially eliminate human error. Skills like counter-strafing take time and command a lot of respect. There is an ethical conversation to be had about assisted peripherals like this. How many steps removed is Snap Tap or nullbinds away from a mouse that adjusts itself for recoil? Now, regardless of opinions, Razer's esports ambassador explained that they did their due diligence. They spoke to tournament organizers, and Snap Tap got the green light from them. This was odd because many TOs don't allow user-created nullbinds that do this. Since it's pretty much the same thing as Snap Tap, surely wouldn't both be banned? Well, that's exactly what NA pro and streamer Cooper thought, so he publicly asked a Faceit admin who confirmed that nullbinds are in fact prohibited, but said nothing about Razer's keyboard. This developed into players claiming that CS had essentially become pay to win. An invaluable skill can basically be bought for like $300. And that's pretty much where things ended. The debate continued online for some time, but it remained perfectly legal for you to use this in your competitive games. Even pros were allegedly using Snap Tap at events. However, on August 14th, Gabe Follower tweeted a screenshot from inside CS2's code that suggested they added a detection model for Snap Tap. Then, on Monday this week, Valve dropped a blog post titled Sidestepping Skill, I see what you did there, identifying the rise of hardware features that, quote, blurred the line between manual input and automation. They announced that, with the accompanying update, automation features that circumvent core skills will no longer be allowed on Valve servers, and players will be instantly detected and kicked if using them. And that's exactly what happened.
Vamos lá, para lado, pro outro, para lado, pro outro, para lado, pro outro. Já fui quicado por input automation.
Everyone cheered. Personally, I feel like a lot of us were expecting Valve to eventually take action like this, but still, it was a welcome decision that finally came. Scrawny did point out on Twitter the humor in Valve being able to detect Snap Tap, but not blatant spin botters, which was my first thought, but hopefully, with the new VAC 3.0 update, we're proved wrong. But yeah, Valve did something good. We desperately needed someone with authority to step in and just make a clear decision, which Valve did. Now there's no more debate and we can hop back on and rest easy knowing that nothing bad actually came out of this. As some are reporting online, allegedly Valve's Snap Tap detection model isn't perfect and players are getting kicked for counter-strafing without nullbinds or Snap Tap.
Hab grad schlechte Phase, schreibe ich einfach.
Wurdest du gekickt?
It's hard to verify exactly what's going on and if in these situations there is any automation going on, but my guess is if the detection model is flawed, maybe if people do manage to perfectly counter-strafe, Valve assumes it's with assistance and kicks you. Wouldn't be a Valve update without a potential game-breaking bug. They were this close. But hey, it could be worse. Which it was. You see, in order for Valve to get rid of nullbinds, they needed to completely disable them from the game. And this resulted in jump throw binds being removed as well. These binds allow for players to consistently jump and throw nades at the apex with one button. It's been a part of the game for ages, is now gone, and many people are pissed off. Elige was quite outspoken, saying that this was a quality of life feature that Valve themselves had acknowledged in the past. And at the very worst, they need to add a jump throw bind to the game's options. The argument for many is that jump throwing on your own just isn't consistent, which is a game problem, and that ends up breaking a lot of strats. However, on the other side, you have outspoken players who claim that people just need to get good at the game and not rely on binds for anything. So now all this Snap Tap bullshit has completely turned into a different argument thanks to Valve dropping a single f***ing update. That frustration aside, the seemingly separate debates around Snap Tap and jump throws can actually be viewed as one and the same. It's just a question about automation and assistance in our games. Do some provide more of an unfair advantage than others? Absolutely. But maybe it's best to draw a hard line against any assistive features rather than opening up the floodgates that could lead to these unforeseen consequences in the future. I personally don't use jump throws because everything I do is perfect, but what do you think? Should they be allowed? Should Snap Tap be allowed? There are some who allege that it doesn't actually provide enough of an advantage to create this much controversy. So, where should Valve draw the line? It was funny seeing Robs Vindicated because he was like, when they first announced Snap Tap, he was the first one that was like, oh, this shit's really cool, but it's cheating. And this cannot be allowed. And then finally after that, like, you know, he was outspoken other times being like, yeah, no, don't use this, it's cheating, blah, 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 it's unfair.